Hello, my greasy, goofy goblins. Today we're going to be talking about something... Wow, off-rip is crazy. Today we're talking about something that I was thinking a little bit about earlier. I thought, it'd be kind of cool to make a video about. Now, I don't know specifically what the title is going to be of this video, but I do know it's going to be along the lines of how to become a pro balisong flipper, or butterfly knife flipper, fast. And fast is a relative term, just like the word soon. It's like, well, soon, when is that? 2 weeks, 3 months, a year? How soon is soon? Or how fast is fast? So this is going to be different for everybody. Keep that in mind. Everybody learns differently. And I am by no means a pro at all. I've never been in a competition or anything. Not the best flipper in the world. But I have been in the hobby long enough to understand the learning curve of balisongs. And so that's why I do feel I am qualified-ish to talk about this topic. So, balisong flipping, obviously, if you want to become good at it, you're going to have to spend a lot of time doing it. Obviously, practice is the main thing that will get you getting your skill level up, but there are different habits you can build that will help you improve faster. Sorry, my phone had a low power warning. We're gonna ignore that and hope my phone doesn't die. But there are quite a few things that you can do to learn faster. One of those things being learning to flip while sitting down. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous to, like why would that help me at all in any way whatsoever? Well, the reason being, when you start out as a new flipper, you're going to be moving your arm around a lot because you're not going to be used to the motion of using your wrist to get the balisong to maneuver the way you want it to. You're typically going to be using your whole arm like this, and that is a no-no. Why? Because it looks stupid, and it's also not very smooth, and it actually increases the risk of you messing up a trick. When you're moving your arm around less, you're actually going to be a lot smoother. There's going to be a lot less room for error. Now, why does sitting down help? Well, if you're sitting down like this, there's going to be a lot less movement for you to be able to do. And what that does is it trains you to be able to flip smoother. Now, another trick, and I just came up with this earlier, is flipping to fail. What does that mean? So in the beginning, you're going to be frustrated because you're going to drop the balisong a lot. And that's actually good because what you're doing is you're actually training with stakes. And so the more stakes you add, the more motivation you'll have to get good, right? So, for example, if I'm flipping over grass, as opposed to flipping over concrete, I'm going to be probably not as careful as if I were flipping over concrete, right? Because there's going to be less damage to my balisong than if I were flipping over concrete, right? Now, there's two types of flippers in this world, and this kind of applies to any hobby too. Like skateboarding is a great example. I'm going to use skateboarding as an example. I'm not a skateboarder by any means, but I heard this from a skateboarder, so I'm going to use it. There's two types of skaters. One, there's a skate rat, and two, there's a skate nerd. What's the difference? So a skate nerd is somebody who, that's definitely who I am, is someone who plans out every single move in their trick, and they execute it with perfect precision. So what they're doing is they learn the tricks step by step. They minimize the risk of themselves getting hurt. They're super careful. And usually they have really good technique, but it takes them a lot longer to learn. Now, a skate rat says, screw it, I'm just going to full send it and just keep doing it until I figure it out. And you break a lot of bones, but you do actually learn faster. if you're not in the hospital, obviously, all the time. But that can be applied to balisongs too. One, you can be kind of reckless and, you know, just throw it around, not really care. You're probably going to learn faster that way than if you were to baby your balisongs. So that's why it's good to start out with something that's cheaper, that's kind of a beater, that you don't really care about, because that way, if you do mess up, you don't really care that much. And so you're going to be more motivated to just focus on learning rather than trying not to break your balisong. Now, there's a balance to that, because obviously you don't want to break your balisong, because then you're not going to be able to practice anymore. So there is a balance. But also, the other thing I will mention is flipping with a trainer. That will significantly increase the speed at which you learn. Because if you're flipping with something that can cut you, chances are you're going to be a lot more careful, and that's going to really, really decrease your learning rate, right? And so that's why trainers have such an advantage. You can't really injure yourself unless you're like really new to the hobby and you end up throwing it into your foot or something. That has happened. Or, you know, I've thrown it into my sister's leg somehow. I don't even know. But, yeah. So, there are different techniques. Now, obviously, there's another technique, too, where you take your elbow and you put it up against your hip and you try and flip like that so that your arm doesn't move around. But the other thing is just being mindful of how much you're moving your arm around. That will really, really help. But yeah, the other thing too is not trying to grind tricks too much. Now, what do I mean by that? Doesn't practice make perfect? Well, yes. But if you sit for 2 hours grinding the same trick, chances are you're probably doing more harm than good. Because if you're screwing up and you're having trouble, you can't learn the trick, and you're doing it wrong for 2 hours straight, you're going to get some really bad habits of muscle memory, and you probably will struggle with that trick for a very long time. The other thing is hopping from trick to trick. Say I literally just learned a trick on YouTube from Big Flips, and right after I attempt it and I get it one time, I immediately go to another video and say, okay, what's the next thing I can learn? That is a very bad habit, because guess what? When you wake up the next morning, you will have forgotten both of them. So remember, don't overload your system when you're trying to learn tricks. Always take breaks so that your brain can actually process the tricks you're learning and store them in your long-term memory. Otherwise, you're just gonna be, doing it all in vain. Other thing I was gonna say. What was I gonna say now? I lost my train of thought. That's embarrassing. What was it? Other thing, yeah, this wasn't what I was gonna say, but whatever. Other thing is learning to flip slow. In the beginning, you're probably going to try to rush tricks. You're probably going to be trying to absolutely rip it. Like, Don't do that, because one, you're going to be horrible. And two, you got to learn to walk before you run. You can't just, it's like driving a manual car. You can't bang through gears if you don't even know how to take off in first gear. So you got to learn how to do it slow and smooth before you can go and do it really fast. Now, I don't remember the other thing I was going to say, so I might just leave it. I think that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about. So I think I will see you guys later. If you liked the video, like it and consider subscribing. It really helps me out. It makes me feel happy. But yeah, if you guys got any questions or any ideas for a video, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys later. I appreciate y'all. Peace.